What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis. There is no better place to get through a weekend, to get through the transfer portal, to get through any doldrum in your life, or just to chill. The end of a long week, go to pureoptions.com, check out the location nearest you, and swing on by. And if you spend $50 or more on your purchase, Pure Options will give you a complimentary eighth of ProGrow, a terrific in-house brand, just for letting them know Couch at the Rube sent you. We'd appreciate it. They'd appreciate it. You will not regret it. Trust me. And our Friday afternoon show, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting. Jason, how you doing, brother?
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Man, that's like the first time I wasn't prepared for one of those. Anyway, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good.
I'm getting thrown off by these websites. I'm trying to check out who's pitching tonight for the fucking Tigers, and I kind of just pop-ups. Can we access your cookies? Like, all right, yes, take my cookies forever. What does this mean? God damn it. Who's pitching tonight for the Tigers? God, I sound old. But I'm just saying, every time you go to a website, there's pop-ups and all this shit. I get you got to try to make money, but god damn it. Take my cookies.
The internet has definitely gotten worse in terms of needing to do things quickly. So when you do like a live podcast and you're looking for something at the last second, the number of things that you can get screwed on, like and the thing is, you remember it. I don't do CBSSports.com very often. We do it for our bracket challenge because it's CBS is, whatever. It's a CBS venture, I guess. But I go there every time they want a prediction, and then it takes forever to get to it. If you're clickbaity at all, if you don't give me the information right away in a clear, concise way, I never go back. CBS Sports is dead to me. And that's
so why aren't they dead to you when we do the bracket? Just pick another pick one of the 50 other bracket challenge places we can go to. Listen, I know technology is great. I understand that, and I get mad at if there's a YouTube 5-second ad. I'm like, really? And then I'm over it. But Jesus, anyway.
All right,
throws you off sometimes.
I think we got a fun show. This is a really good Groovy Donut Twitter question show. Some great stuff from people, and I think it's gonna be a fun tone, fun conversation. And I'll do my best not to alienate Eric and Dominic and a few others with today's answers. Before we get into those, however, as we do every end of week show, what we are betting presented by Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Jason, what are you betting this weekend?
I found out my boy Reese Olson, the rosy cheek MFer, he's going to pitch tonight. 0-4, 3.18 ERA. But we talked about it earlier in the week, Graham. The Tigers are really good on the road. I think Reese Olson has been screwed by our bats, so I think tonight might be, I don't know, hopefully we can get some runs.
I've been jumping on the suggested deal of betting against the Marlins and the Rockies and the White Sox. And so I'm starting.
Are you watching them? Are you just checking scores?
I just do it blindly. Okay. I don't want to get into all that. I'll do it blindly.
You wait till like 10 o'clock at night to check it, or what do you mean blindly? Like you just bet it,
right? I bet it in. Check it at the end of the night. Don't think about it because I'm not putting enough on it to really care, and I can't. I have to have a pretty sizable bet for me to be locked in.
I got to say, then what's the point? Because we know gambling's not really a money making venture. So if you're not even watching the games, I'm sorry, like. That's the whole reason I gamble. It's because I'm watching the game tonight, and then I wanted to sprinkle.
It's the scientific nature of it. First of all, how are you watching the game tonight? Isn't it on Bally's?
Yeah, but we live in Ovid, man.
That's right. You got
dude. We have Spectrum.
Man,
hell yeah,
lucky dude. Yeah, the Tigers are sort of dead to me. I can't see Tigers games. Won't see one this month.
But it's not the Tigers' fault for once.
It isn't. It isn't. I mean, you're in bed with these people. This is your organization. Your broadcast
you knew it was coming.
Works for you. Yeah, you can step in with harsh language here. You can absolutely step in with and be a little more like, I don't know what to tell you. It ain't us. Like that.
Who's that?
I don't know. That's the Tigers. That's Ilitch, yeah.
Sounds like him.
Yeah, that's Chris Ilitch. You can be a little like, hey, this is bullshit. Get it together, or neither one of you will have anything to do with us for a long freaking time.
I would start my own TV network. I would just buy cameras, and we just point them at the guys, and we put it on some app or something, right?
Sort of what we do with this show.
Right.
You know? Point them at us.
It's all organic. We just wait until people tell us something sucks and change it.
What I am betting this weekend, I've got a few Premier League things that I'm in on, but I really, 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 really like, and it didn't work last week, so apologies for that. Crystal Palace at home against Manchester United, and it's Monday afternoon, and so before we do another show, this would, this about the time we're doing that show, this game would be going off like Monday at 3. Crystal Palace still hot, something to play for. Man United not on the road. It's just the way those two teams are going. I think the goal totals are good, like over 1.5 goals for Crystal Palace is another way to bet that. But to me, Crystal Palace, I think this could be very. Crystal Palace is the total play this weekend at home. You can play it 2 different ways, by the way. You can do a pick'em at -135, which means that's draw no bet. If it's a tie, you get your money back, but it's a little bit of juice. Or +130 on the money line. I think I've got it both ways. Love Crystal Palace at home against Manchester United. That is my my play of the week. I mean, I felt all of Fred Human. That is what we're betting.
You make it sound so exciting. Oh, I just bet. I don't even check the scores or anything.
I will be watching that game.
I bet it sure. I bet it 2 ways.
We'll wrap the hot takes Monday quickly so I can get back and watch that. That's what we're betting. That's Matt Mancarini's favorite club, by the way.
Oh, shit. Man.
Yeah, there you go.
Hell yeah.
What we're betting, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app, bet the games we're betting, bet your own games, which is often the better way to go. Or swing on by to Daisy's Taproom and Sportsbook down off I-94 in Battle Creek and enjoy the in-house sportsbook experience. Very cool. I think you will absolutely enjoy it.
When's the last time you called him Matt? Or is it just always Matt Mancarini?
I call him Matt to his face.
Mancarini. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're just
M squared.
If I say Matt to people, if I just say, hey, that's Matt's face. If I were to say that's Matt, nobody would know who that is. Mancarini, they know.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I get it.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
All right, you ready to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
Yeah, man. Eric Schultz up first, of course. Every point about the potential success of MSU basketball next season needs to start with rebounding. Every good Izzo team has been elite on the glass. The last 4 haven't been close, with last year being his worst ever. How do they realistically get back to owning the glass with this roster?
I think it starts with it being the emphasis. Like it has to be, and you're not wrong. Both you and Ryan, Eric, have sort of shared the data, and it's pretty clear that their best teams or his really good teams have all been really good rebounding teams. And if that becomes an emphasis that begins with day one over the summer, like this team is going to be good at rebounding, you have a couple things going for you. One, you got bigger on the wing, which I think helps in a pretty decent rebounder in Frankie Fiddler. And a guy who early in his career was a really good rebounder and sort of was inconsistent last year, and Jaden Akins is now at the 2. When he's an undersized 3, it's all athleticism for him to rebound against the guys he's with. Now at the 2, can he become a really good rebounding 2 guard? Getting that to be an emphasis for him as well. And then for Booker with his length and then your big guys. I thought Jackson Kohler late in the year became a much better rebounder. We saw it in the postseason. It was a real emphasis. He understood that was his way to get on the court. The season hadn't gone how he wanted. He was injured for most of it. Never been able to get into a rhythm. But he understood if I rebound and I defend, I'm going to be out here, and he did an adequate job of it. And then, Carson Cooper, I think, has – we see it from time to time, the chance to be a good rebounder, and so he's got to keep getting stronger. But, again, just when you get longer, Malik Hall was an average rebounder, was never a great rebounder. You get longer with a guy like Xavier Booker at the 4, and you're no longer playing Akins at the 3 and he's at the 2. There's a chance to get better that way. But to me, rebounding is about 2 things. It's about emphasis and will and want to and all that stuff. And then it's about ass. And athleticism helps. But putting your ass into somebody and making that something you want to do regularly. And But for this, I think for them, if it's an emphasis, and
I'm gonna have to timestamp that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one from Eric Schultz. What should the expectations be for MSU basketball next season? I feel they should maybe be more lenient than what they were this past year, but at the same time, you can't be nowhere close for 5 years in a row.
Yeah, and you also have Xavier Booker maybe for another year. Now there's so much variance in this team coming up. I think it's just different than a year ago, where the floor, I think they spent a lot of last season at their floor. Like, I think that was their floor for a lot of. I mean, they were. So you have to be. The floor and the ceiling may both be, more extreme. So I don't know. I in terms of what I would say, hope is a better word, because I think there should be hope that if things go off well, if Booker improves the way you want him to, if Akins is ready for that role, he's going to be expected at the two position.
Don't coach my team.
There's just so much we don't know. I think hope can be really high for next year's team. Expectations, I think you almost have to see it. And I also think you've been let down enough in the last few years that it must be almost hard to have them. I know my expectations for next year's team is that they're interesting, that they're better offensively, certainly. They're a better shooting team in certain ways based on the roster and lineup. But I don't know that I have, expectations the way I did a year ago. And part of that is because this program's back at a point where it's a little more prove it to me. That's what happens when you have 4 years where you're not elite. And I think we've got to see it to believe it. But there are some parts there that should give you hope.
And when he says nowhere close, I mean, do you agree with that? The past 5 years, Michigan State, if you watch the Michigan State team and then you watch some of the top 5 teams that are playing deep into the season, were they close to any of those teams?
At the end of the year, I wouldn't say nowhere close, but for parts of the season, and you look at their record, they weren't there. Like, you would see them, even in 2022 when they lose to Duke, right? They are in the second round. They're ahead in that game late, and that's a Final Four. See,
that's where I disagree with the nowhere close, because I feel like when that team played well, even last year, I'm like, this team is fun to watch when they play great. They just could never keep it together for a full game.
They were a piece away last year, and probably a 5, and you can argue, and so that's.
Don't coach my team.
The question is, will that be the case again?
Die trying, baby. Dominic next. At one point in time to become seriously concerned regarding some of the attrition from the football team. I understand the times we're in, and I'm a full believer in Smith, but we also have to field the fucking team.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do think my expectations for next year's team have dipped slightly. Not really in whatever the future of the program is. That doesn't have a lot of bearing, but they're just losing a lot of dudes. And the key guys in the secondary, key guys on the defensive line. And you start, at some point, that's going to really hurt you. Like, what I thought the defense could be, a lot of that was based on guys who have been holdovers, who are some of the better recruits under Mel Tucker. And, I thought maybe they'll be okay. And maybe they still will be. Maybe Joe Rossi, will put together a good system. There are enough guys that will develop, and they'll be fine. But I'm a little less thinking that's likely now. And in terms of and being concerned about the attrition in terms of next year's team, I think it's absolutely fair to be concerned now. In terms of how that relates to the program overall, I just don't think this coming year has all that much bearing. Now,
can we blame it on Izzo not getting a 5? Is
yes,
why we have that
100%,
mentality?
100%. And to go back to what Eric said too, and I kind of misspoke at the end there where I said, they were a 5 away last year, and that could be the case this year. The difference between this year and last year is last year you looked at their lineup, and there were 4 clear dudes. And then it was like, okay, are you going to be okay at center? This year there are a lot of questions everywhere. Jeremy Fears is coming off being shot in the leg, and he's your starting point guard. He's a sophomore, first-year starter. Jaden Akins is going, in a different position, different role, and we'll see how he handles it. You got a guy in Frankie Fiddler who's coming from a low major where he was a star and a really good player, but now he's adjusting to the Big Ten. They've never had to rely on Xavier Booker like they're going to rely on him, and he needs to take a big step. And then you still have the questions at the 5. So while I think there's some sort of interesting and perhaps exciting variants there, it's more than just the 5 now.
Next one from Dominic. Can we get Pete Rose on the show in July and discuss whether he belongs in the Hall? Is there a better chance of that than Graham actually having Tom on for 10 questions streamed live from Hans Jurgen's dungeon?
Can you imagine if we just surprised Izzo with like 10 of Hans Jurgen's classics?
It would go like this.
Right now, either you're stuttering or I'm not picking it up because it's a what. So
And then call ended.
What do you think? Do you think Pete Rose does call? I mean, he's still on TV, right? He's on MLB Network or something.
I think he got kicked off of that because Pete. Yeah, because Pete's an old school kind of guy, and you really can't talk the way Pete was talking. I think on the
what was he saying?
Just I think he was telling a story about someone whipping their dick out or something, or
on MLB TV.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because he just forgot where he was. Dude, those baseball guys, I mean, they just forget where they are sometimes. And you had those things where, yeah, there's a camera there, but you put him in chairs and he's just talking about past baseball stories. I mean,
that's not good. Well, do you think he's
not the worst
thing? Do you think, I mean,
it's Pete Rose. What are you looking for a fucking.
Do you think every July he gets a lot of requests to be on shows? For real? Do you think he would do a
question.
Show? You know?
If we paid him, I think he would want to be paid. He's not like Harry, who's going to come on for free and.
Yeah, we're not paying guests.
You know, there's some promotion his way, so he gets that. No, he would want to pay. Now, I would be down to pay Pete Rose to come on the show in a July topic kind of vibe, though. That would be awesome.
So
kind of like paying Hoff to do like a Couch in the Rube liner or something.
That's fair. Now, my issue with paying guests, well, there are a couple. Journalistically, you're not going to do it with certain people. But the other thing is, my expectation for the guest goes up. I remember with Kenneth Walker when his people reached out. And this is the early days of NIL and all that. And they asked if we wanted to have him on. And it wasn't through MSU or anything like that. And we probably could have had him on through MSU. But Kenneth Walker was never that engaging a quote. He's not like the new Keon Coleman we're seeing all over social media now.
Right.
And so the people asked. And you know, I thought, well, yeah. So I responded. I said, yeah, we could do that. I mean, it's still Kenneth Walker. A lot of people like Kenneth Walker. I'm sure we could make a 10 to 12-minute segment interesting with Kenneth Walker. And they got back and said, well, have your people email us what you would, you know, the financial terms. And I was like, excuse me? And my response was like,
I got 20 on it.
I said, if you listen to your client do an interview.
You said that?
Yeah, that was my response. And
wow.
The rudest thing I've ever said was in an email to them.
Wow. That's the rudest thing you've ever said.
No, the thing I said next.
Oh.
Was you would be better off paying us to have him on. Like we would be doing him a favor. Now, that's not 100% true. He didn't need us, but I was really taken aback by these morons thought that, like, I mean, it's like if you like what the idea of doing a podcast is not just to have the worst interview, biggest names you can possibly have on.
Depends on what you're going for with your podcast. If you want clicks and hits and stuff, get
is
guys
it?
Like that.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I scan. Boy, if I get an interview that I don't like, or I get an athlete interview that sucks, I skip through it. I don't want to hear it. Sometimes I don't go back to a podcast. I don't want that shit. Like. I want interesting
kind
people.
Of like two sports writers 69ing for about 30 minutes.
That's really all I want.
Wednesday show.
That's everything I want.
What you need there.
I bring the lube. You make the call. We're good to go.
Now, wait a minute. You said new Keon Coleman. What does that mean? Is that a little dig? You threw a little dig on Keon?
No. So I would just say
did he look through you? Let me be honest.
No. I like
when you talked to him.
Keon was a good personality. He was not as comfortable as he is now when he was at Michigan State. Because
really?
and that's natural. I mean, he was interesting sometimes.
He just seems like a guy that would be comfortable anywhere.
He is so entertaining.
Which I'm jealous of.
Yeah, he was not quite as witty. He had moments, but he wasn't like this. And he was a freshman and sophomore.
Sure. And
he was trying to find his way. He didn't play much as a freshman. And you know, the other thing is, Michigan State largely did not have, and it's a little bit better set up now. And it was a great setup under D'Antonio where you have a little more conversational one-on-one interviews with these guys. They did a lot of press conference. Now, he looks good in the press conference now. He looks comfortable. But that takes a while for guys, you know. And there weren't a lot of setups that really allowed his personality to show the way they were doing it under Tucker and whatever. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't something that played to a young player showing their
It's a long way to go to just say you hate the guy.
I did not say that. I like Keon Coleman. I enjoy every video I'm seeing from the guy. I hope he does really well.
Yeah, but you have to now.
Well, I think Michigan State should like that he keeps mentioning MSU. Like, and they showed there's a clip of his interview with the Buffalo Bills before the draft. And there's a funny part where they ask him about golfing, and he says, "I'm not Tiger Woods. I'm Tiger wish he could or whatever. But there's
No one laughs when you say it.
no, it's bad. But there's
Deion says it's.
because his accent is Louisiana accent. It's funny, and you don't expect it. But when they ask him where did he learn to play the position, basically where did he get good, and he talks about, he goes, really at Michigan State. It was watching film. It was all the stuff I did with my quarterback, trying to learn to help them and all. Again, it's Michigan State. It's not Florida State. It's Courtney Hawkins previously. It's never Florida State. It's Michigan State, and I think he has continued to put Michigan State in his mouth. He's I think you'll see him around throughout his life. I think he views Michigan State as his place.
Dominic, I want to be Dominic Mincarini. I told you Dave Warner was trash. Sowards was the worst return man. Mahdi wasn't the answer. Izzo wouldn't address the 5 and 22, 23, and 24. That Jay Johnson was 9/11. That Wojcik blew. Shep was an Ocean Gate submersible. Will you hire me, Graham? I would read that shit. A Dominic column for sure. LSJ should hire him, sure.
I think. I mean, your takes are already pretty fun, Dominic. Your questions are pretty amazing. So you do this well. Yes, I would. I mean, I would be entertained.
Sell papers, man. Let's get some subs going.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the problem was at some point Dominic would get us sued. I'm not sure when.
Yeah, but that's the fun of getting there, though.
Is it?
Right? How many? Dude, you're going to get a ton of subs. Look at Greg Doyle. I mean, that guy got clowned on, but people were going to the Indy Star site and everything. I mean.
Well, and he's already, I'm not sure you can say that.
Not to compare Dominic to Greg Doyle. Sorry,
but if you say Shep was an Ocean Gate submersible, it's a funny line.
You might have to, take it back a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little editing.
LSJ.
Yeah, if I can be your editor, Dominic, then you can trust me with that.
Let's go to the City Pulse. Dominic, if Couch isn't going to use his pen to address our portal defiance, can he at least batter the piss out of Bally's until I can watch the Tigers again? I prefer to use a majority of my Vietnamese pirate streaming bandwidth on porn.
Fuck Bally's. And,
Dude, who wants to come hang at the Midnight Tavern tonight? We can watch baseball. I have it out there.
Everybody starts going to Ovid. It becomes like our place.
I tell you what, you'd have
gather.
fun. I know that.
Yeah, no, and at some point, by the way, in the not too distant future, there will be a column on the Michigan State basketball roster and the 5 and everything. I'm thinking about it, and plan to have a conversation with Izzo in the next week here and get a sense
with
of
Hans Jurgen.
Yeah, I'll have Hans by my side, feeding me the questions in my ear, and we'll go from there. So and see what he has to say.
Hey, Tom, is beef jerky ass? Maybe. What do you think of Matt Ishbia, NBA owner? How can a former player struggle to see what or who the team needs to succeed? Myopia.
Did you see Matt Ishbia's press conference?
I did. And it had the tone of probably, I'm guessing, what he does with his mortgage company in the mornings.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a lot of hyping you up. There's many teams that would love to be in our position. We're in a really good spot, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
The man is full of shit. Is what he is.
Yeah.
And because
that's the mortgage business, though, right?
When I say the Pistons are better off than certain teams,
yeah, you're full of shit.
No. The Suns have now entered that.
Ooh.
Because now the Suns have some assets like the Pistons, but the Suns' core as it is right now is not going to win a title, right? There are too many good young teams, and they are in a position with 0 draft picks, with 0 flexibility, heavily in the second apron above the luxury tax and all the the salary cap and all that, where they can't even add pieces or trade guys for a number of pieces. It has to be like 1 for 1. There's so many restrictions on them. They can't do very much with that roster. And so, are they better than the Pistons? Oh, hell yeah. They're a lot better than the Pistons. I'm just saying, in terms of getting to a championship level, they're not closer than the Pistons at this point.
What about the Clippers? Who would you rather have? Ishbia's team or be in Ballmer's situation with the Clippers? Forget the Pistons for a second.
I'd rather be.
Imagine paying those guys $50 million.
I'd rather be Ballmer because
why?
But it's
Kawhi and George sit out 180 games.
Yeah, but it's the lack of draft picks for the next 5 to 7 years that the Suns have. I mean, they just don't have control over anything. Sure. They got nothing. And so, if I were them, I would actually be engaging the Pistons, trying to trade Devin Booker, and I talked about this before, like Cade Cunningham. Give a different because they need a point guard. And
do you really want Devin Booker here, though? If you're going to win 15 games, is Devin Booker going to be a guy?
No, Booker's going to elevate you quite a bit. But the problem is you'd want KD and Booker. But I'm saying if I were the Suns, that would be the type of trade I'd be looking at to try and salvage this. You're going to have to trade one of your key. They're not going to do it, and they're going to suck, and it's not going to happen. And Ishbia can say everything he wants. And look, he's obviously a smart guy who's gotten pretty far in life. I'm not knocking that. He does not have a team that is. He's delusional right now. He's either delusional or he's just trying to sell it to people to keep the mood up or something.
With Ballmer having to pay like a guy like Kawhi Leonard, though.
It would drive me insane.
I wouldn't pay Paul George, but yeah, a guy like Kawhi Leonard, and he's just sitting out all these games for weird illnesses.
When his knee's always.
And by the way, speaking of injuries, so Embiid had Bell's palsy. Like I thought Bell's palsy, like it froze your face. Like, can we get like a doctor to Wojo, whatever, Adrian Wojnarowski? He sits there. He sits there and goes, "Oh yeah, Joel Embiid has Bell's palsy." As it's just there you go. Send. Like no explanation of how do you get Bell's palsy and you're playing basketball, or it's usually just older, fatter people. They have Bell's palsy, right? I didn't know like athletes could get it.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like injuries. Fun. Yeah, no, he's had a rough go, but he played through it. He came back after he plays more than
he played through Bell's palsy
and a knee that wasn't right. Like that's not because he's only got shingles. So many more bites at the apple. Whereas if I'm talking to Kawhi Leonard, I'm like, I know your knee hurts, but who the fuck cares? We'll fix it after you're done playing. You got so many more years. Play through and I say that, except when he tried to play through it, he looked awful. So I should take that back. We'll fix that in post. But it does suck that he's hurt as much as he is. I would rather be the Clippers though than the Suns. I would rather be most teams than the Suns right now.
Maybe who wins in the Nuggets T-Wolves series?
I love this series. It's gonna be so much fun. It's the first like must-watch series for me in a while. I mean, I watched quite a bit of the Philly-Knicks series because it was fun, but I don't know. I
mean, do we like Gobert again? I mean, is he actually a serviceable guy now?
He's been so good. And the way that Cat Williams feeds off Anthony Edwards, and Cat just needed Anthony Edwards.
Cat Williams. Is that his name?
Nah, what did I say? Cat Williams?
The comedian?
No, Cat. Fuck. I'm blanking. No, I got
Kevin Garnett?
Give me 1 second.
Kevin McHale. Mark Eaton?
Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh.
Fuck.
Right.
Holy shit. The way Karl Anthony Towns
Cat Williams
plays off of Anthony Edwards and is sort of needed that leadership. He's needed that alpha presence to get the most out of him. And he's so much better as sort of a number two and just it just works. The whole thing works. And late in the year I saw them play at Denver, and they lost there, and Denver looked a little bit better. I think if I had to pick the series, I guess I'd take the Nuggets because of their championship pedigree, but I wouldn't be surprised.
And with like Jamal Murray, you just don't know. I mean, the guy hit 2 game winners in the last series, so
yeah.
But he's is he injured? Does he have Bell's palsy?
I would.
Liz Frank, Bell's palsy.
I'm going to enjoy the series without gambling on it because I have no sense. I have no sense of who's going to win it. I'm just going to.
That's the biggest pre-game 1 bullshit ever.
I'm not going.
You might not bet on game 1, but you're sure as shit going to bet game 2.
I don't think
game
so.
3, 4.
I don't like to bet where I can't see an advantage.
Wow, listen to this guy, Billy Walters over here. Maybe, which is easier to compile? Twitter questions as tweets or YouTube comments?
Pretty similar. YouTube comments are probably a little bit easier, but it really doesn't make that big a difference. If you want to do your
YouTube, that gives us like a click, right?
Or
a view,
it just gets more people there. I mean, we could do more with YouTube, and at some point we may do clips or other things like other people do. But
we are.
Well, not now. I mean, maybe in the fall if we figure it out, get an intern or something. Yeah.
Did I miss a meeting or
breaking
something?
News? Yeah, just decided
we're gonna start doing clips.
Anyway, I don't know if we want most of this show clipped. I'd be terrified.
Clip my tornado take and have people freak out.
So yeah, it really doesn't make a difference. Whichever is easier for other people is fine by me. YouTube is slightly easier to compile. But you know what's the easiest to compile?
Go on Threads and drop a line.
You know what the easiest compile is? Good grammar and punctuation and succinct sentences that aren't too long. And there are certain people I can count on for better or worse. And so the better your grammar and punctuation.
Here comes the run-on sentences. Yeah. Shouldn't have said anything. MZA, I've heard a couple of people in the MSU media space say that we should have faith in Izzo and his decision not to get a center. Is this true? Are we being reasonably skeptical of this of his decision?
Oh, I think it's 100% to be. It's 100% reasonable to be skeptical of if they ultimately don't bring in another big man. I think that's. Recent history says they haven't been good enough at the position. It cost them dearly last year. It hurt them the year before. And so to not address it because you think you're going to be able to develop it when you haven't been able to previously, skepticism is 100% warranted. Doesn't mean that Izzo won't be right, and ultimately it'll prove to be, but yeah, I mean, at this point, for all Izzo's done well, we get he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's done a nice job of keeping together a team that people sort of know and can enjoy and was developed and recruited out of high school. You think about there are a lot of places in college basketball where there's like 6 new guys, and it's a bought roster that's there for 1 year and it'll turn over year, and that may be Michigan State's life eventually, and you'll have to decide whether you like it or not. But right now, you're still getting to exist a little bit in the old school world. You just want a little bit of the new school advantages, and he doesn't seem to always be taking advantage of that while he's trying to keep his roster intact. But skepticism is 100% warranted because of what's happened the last 4 years. He has not earned the right. He's earned the right to have some level of faith in him over the last 25 years. But he is what transpired last year alone is make skepticism fair if he's not going to address that position from outside.
Next one from MZA. What grade would you give Jonathan Smith on how he has handled the roster so far?
I just don't have a feel for it because I really liked what I heard out of spring practice from returning guys, and about him and his staff. And I think there are some really smart guys on that staff who communicate well with players, and I think the players respond pretty well. And then you're also in a world right now where you can do all that, and then the NIL bug gets some of these guys, and they're looking to capitalize. This wasn't what they signed up for. And so I don't know how much of that has been mishandling versus just the reality of what is. It's a transition year. And so I think it's hard for me to judge that just because I don't have a sense of all the insight and into what's gone on behind the scenes. And I don't think anybody objectively does. There's no objective media out there who is well enough sourced on Jonathan Smith's staff to give you that sense yet. And hopefully there will be, if this were to happen a year from now, we'd be able to give you a better take on it.
MZA, in his first way too early bracketology, Joe Lenardi has 12 Big Ten teams making the NCAA tournament field. He has MSU as a 5, with only 2 teams higher, being Indiana and Purdue, both as 4s. Do you think this can be a realistic expectation for next year?
Again, I would lose expectation and just make this a hope year because I'm serious because I don't know, like expectation. They're just so
hope year. What
I mean is like I think you can have high hopes. I think you can absolutely have high hopes for this year. Expectation comes with a level of if you don't meet this, complete failure. And while you can say as a program that would be absolutely disappointing, it should, but there are just so many variables with this team that are unknown. And could go either way, as Tim South said, go either way.
This is a hope year.
Yeah, I mean MSU could be a Big Ten champion. I think Indiana is certainly going to be looks like they'll be a force, but MSU could be a team that's at the top of the Big Ten, or they could be in the middle of the Big Ten, struggling to get in if things don't crack. Like I'll give you a scenario. Regardless of the 5 position, if Jeremy Fears is just okay as a point guard at 25 minutes a game. And I think, you have Trey Holloman who gives you a backstop there a little bit. And you get inconsistency from Jaden Akins. And Frankie Fiddler's an okay player, good player, but he's not, he's a 12-point-a-game guy. And then Xavier Booker takes a step as he naturally will, but it's not like an all-conference level step. He's too much inconsistency. You're looking at a bubble team. And so that could absolutely happen. So expectations, what to expect, you have to see where the development is, I think, before you really put expectations. There's just so much less proven about this team than there was a year ago.
Mr. Benjen, right now, is Izzo better at the GM or coach part of his job?
What would be your answer to this?
I think coach would eke it out over GM, the GM part. Just the simple fact that we have to talk about the possibility of not getting a 5 this year puts the coach part a little bit ahead.
Yeah, You could make it.
Come on, Tom.
Yeah, you can make an argument either way. The reason I would agree with you is I still think, like, if you look at how they finished the last couple seasons, where they're playing their best basketball at the end, looking like, even when they've had a team that's been sort of a mid team or a team that's just above the bubble, 7 seed, 9 seed NCAA tournament team, they played basketball that has inklings of a team that can make a run at the end. They played their best basketball. That's a sign of a guy who knows how to get a team on the right crescendo. The GM part of that, I mean, last year they miscalculated. They didn't do it right. And, I look at like the Oklahoma City Thunder with Sam Presti, and I think they should have done something at the trade deadline to get a little bigger, a little stronger. And yet they're the 1 seed, and we'll see how far they go. And, that's Dominic Cases where that's the gamble that you take. So maybe Izzo is just – he missed 1 year, but he sees something that we don't, and he's kept all this group together when a lot of guys could be in the transfer portal or things like that. Maybe there's a method to it, but I think there was one more move that to this point hasn't been made.
The 5 at that's the obvious one, but I think AJ Hoggard letting him down is a bigger storyline. That's the narrative, is the 5, but AJ and especially with Fears getting shot, I would have been so interested to see that storyline, Graham. If AJ was playing the same way, but Fears was coming along, engaging with the team, moving the team better than AJ, what Tom would have done.
And I think he's done a decent job of the timing of, you bring in a guy like Jeremy Fears Jr. with 1 year behind AJ Hoggard. Mm-hmm. And then regardless, they didn't welcome Hoggard back, because that 5th year does not guarantee you a spot in the program. It guarantees you another year of eligibility. And coaches, in terms of scholarship allotment and program building, they cannot wait to see if you're going to want to do your COVID year when they're recruiting high school kids and trying to figure it out. And if your plan is to move on, that unless kids want to sign some sort of contract that doesn't exist, it said, I'm definitely doing a 5th year, and everybody wants that. I think he's done a decent job of the timing of when guys have come in and moved out, so I wouldn't say he's done an awful job as a GM. I think there's just been one glaring deal, and that's been the last year it was the center spot, and we'll see this year.
Money bag next. If Tom Izzo doesn't get a transfer center, will you do us all a favor and ask him directly if he thinks the 5 spot is good enough to win a national championship?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's truly a fair question. Whether you think the centers you have right now are good enough to contend.
Big John Hag next. How much cash do we need to come up with to get Dominic in studio when Izzo is on? The people want it. Is Izzo coming on next week? I mean, people are kind of like saying that he's. No, we'll schedule something.
No, we'll get something over. I told you we'll get something over the summer or over the spring. We'll get something going, but I haven't brought it up.
We can get Dominic in here.
I don't know if we'll do it on the same day.
Why not?
But we'll make sure Dominic. Put it this way: if we do some listener,
get Jeff Kohler in here.
If we do some listener Twitter questions, Jeff and Dominic together. If we do some listener Twitter questions, we'll make sure one of Dominic's gets in.
We could have a debate. Big John Hag. Whose unraveling is more alarming, Tottenham or Manchester United?
Oh, well, Manchester United, just because alarming's Tottenham's. I mean, I thought they've overachieved part of the year, and their coach actually plays an interesting style, and they're still like 5th. They're still going to be in the Europa League next year. Yeah, I'd say it's Manchester United.
Big John Hag, is there a specific point where the fan base became so dead fast and acted
defeatist,
and acted like the sky is falling? Losing guys to the portal with a new coaching staff is nothing new. We knew a rebuild was coming. Get a fucking grip.
Or get yourself to Pure Options.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you right now, this is the way to get through this. If the center position is on your mind, if in basketball, if you're seeing guys jump into the portal in football and then come back in, you don't know what to think, Pure Options can get you through this. Pure Options was made for the transfer portal era. I'm telling you right now. Go to pureoptions.com, find the location nearest you, and chances are you're not that far away. Mount Pleasant, west side of the state, east side of the state, Lansing, Michigan, of course. And if the Tigers score 7 or more runs in any given game, the next day you can get a free 8th of ProGrow with a purchase of $40 or more with the code TIGERS. So anytime the Tigers score 7 or more runs, and it's something that's starting to happen a little more frequently, it looked like a promotion that was never going to actually come to fruition. But the next day, you can get a free 8th of ProGrow with a purchase of $40 or more. And, of course, always let them know that Couch and the Rube sent you. Look, I think it's just the problem is on social media is where you see it. And I do think there's also this sense that people are just leaving the program. And it's this new thing, this transfer portal. And it's unsettling. And it's something people aren't used to. And in May, you don't have much else to react to. So you get a little worried. I think that's it. I don't think it's necessarily a completely defeatist attitude. I think people are overly emotional and overreact on social media, and that's all it is.
Travis Maynard, do you think the players' opinions on the 5 spot played any part in Izzo's decision? I have to assume they discuss it. So is it possible the players are collectively telling him they don't need or want one?
I don't think that should matter whether the players think they need one or what, because you're going to think you're good enough, right?
Coach, we're good. We don't need anything.
No players ever said, you know what, I'm just not that good at this. Can you get some help in here?
Cockburn.
It doesn't mean you're not talking with them and letting them know where your head is and what you need from them. And I mean, there needs to be communication. There has been communication. I'll tell you that right now. And that's, I mean, part of the sense of the idea that they're not going to do anything at the center position is based on what's happened in those conversations. So but I don't think you can let your players decide what you need for your roster unless it's some kid you really trust at a certain spot occasionally. But for the most part, you know what you need, and it's your job to finesse it and go out and get that done.
Travis, you're an educated man, Graham. So if you had to take an educated guess, what do you suppose is Izzo's plan now for the 5? He can't simply be hoping we're all right at the position. One must assume he's confident in his choice. So what do you think he sees?
There's zero evidence right now that he's going to sign another. And doesn't mean it won't happen here. They've gotten through the transfer portal deadline, so his own players can't leave the program. But I also don't think he's not looking to get you in a gotcha moment where it's like, okay, now they're stuck. I'm going to go get a guy. It'll be interesting to see what those discussions are, what he sees developing over the summer, who's still available. I think for now, they're moving with the roster that they have. And I think what he sees when you ask that, and you can agree with this or not, and parts of it I agree with and others I don't, is he sees in Xavier Booker the possibility for a versatile guy who can play the 4 or the 5. If you go small with that, you can go with a guy like Fiddler or Cohen Carr at the 4. And there's all sorts of lineups that get really interesting and athletic and skilled. And then I think they thought Carson Cooper would take the leap. He didn't. He took, he got better last year, but a bigger leap. And you think that's going to happen now as a junior. And then they were fascinated by what they saw from Kohler a year ago at this time, beyond later in this time, really, in the summer and early fall, in terms of what they could do with him. I think he might have been the starting center and what they could do with him offensively. And so they see some possibilities. Is that enough? Is that enough? Is the rebounding question that Eric brought up at the beginning, is that enough to defend 5s? It wasn't this year, right? They got bullied by some guys who were really good. North Carolina at the very end, Indiana at the end of the regular season. Like, they were not good enough defensively at the 5. And so it's not, those guys have to be good enough to deal with those better 5s. And so he must see some faith in that, or think he might soon. And if not, he can make a move. I've said all along what I would bring in is somebody who could rebound and defend, play the 4 or the 5. Doesn't have to be a huge name. Doesn't have to be $1 million guy, but a seasoned guy who's good at that part of the game. And if the other guys beat him out, so be it. And that's easier said than done to find that person, right? But I think that's what he sees.
And we said, would somebody please guard somebody?
Alan Perlstein, if scholarship players are allowed to enter the portal and leave their schools because they feel it is better for them individually, logically, shouldn't schools be able to cut scholarship players if they feel it's better for the team?
Well, I do believe once you've entered the portal, you've given up your scholarship. In other words, if they recruit over you. If they add somebody, if there's no place for you, that's fine. But I mean, this is still supposed to be college athletics, right? I mean, but this
they go to school still.
This is the question, because it's right now the finances are still coming from a third party vendor. That's what we call 3PS. It's not really NIL, right? And I think it's going to become more cutthroat, and people are going to be less sympathetic to players. But this is sort of one of those questions right now about what's right and where things are headed, and the lines are kind of unclear about, they're not yet employees. They're kind of pros though at this point, and a lot of players who none of these guys under contract are putting programs in tough places, and you don't know if a guy's coming back. And I think you want to be careful about cutting guys though, and what that means if guys want to come back or guys haven't panned out right away. My take is always this: if you screw up in the evaluation and the guy wants to be there, that's on you. If they're doing everything they can to develop, but I may change my mind on that as they become more and more employees.
Skylar Verdon next. I've got two bad choices here. Would you rather spend the summer doing detailed analysis and talk for every player who transfers in and out of MSU football, or talking about centers Izzo should have gotten and answering questions about why he didn't get one?
I'll take door number 3 and just eat a box of Groovy Donuts and feel good about myself. And by the way, with Mother's Day coming up, Groovy Donuts is here for you on Mother's Day. You want to make your mom feel special? Flowers are great. Brunch is great. And Midtown Brewing Company is a great place for brunch, by the way, if you're going to do that. And just tell you, 517-977-1349 for reservations on Mother's Day at Midtown Brewing Company from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Again, you can go to midtownbrewing.net or look them up on Facebook. Can't recommend it enough. But while all that is cool, what really says I love you is a box of donuts from Groovy Donuts. And they've got, you can have your mom's name on a donut. They'll do specialty donuts. They'll have Mother's Day donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com today. Place an order if you want to make your Mother's Day weekend special with Groovy Donuts. You can also swing by either location. They're open Thursday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, and also in Williamston. To answer the question, though.
Izzo.
No.
And the 5.
Actually, no.
Really?
I mean, because there's only so much to say there. Like, if I had to do one or the other, I'd rather spend a summer doing a detailed analysis and talk to every player who transfers in and out. I think that would be interesting. Why did you leave? If you could really get them and get a straight answer, that's an interesting story. I mean, there's one story to be done, but talking about, that's just, beating your head into a wall. That's all that is,
You swayed me. All right. Chris Eastlick, are we done with Deion Sanders now? What was a fun story at first is now taking a cringy turn. And what NFL team is going to want to draft a quarterback that makes fun of former teammates? A good one. A really good quarterback. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is, right?
Yeah. No,
but, if you're good, who cares? But
it's interesting because, I do think that Deion Sanders' public persona is one of he's lost some luster. It seems like he doesn't treat all his players that well.
Yeah, but he does it on camera, too. That's the problem.
Yeah. No, look, I don't think it's going to end well. But certain guys like Ethan Boyd, offensive lineman from Michigan State, is transferring to Colorado. Just announced this week. And, from what I know about Ethan, I met with him and hung out with him once. Really smart.
Where?
Really smart, nice guy. It was Lindsey Huddleston. I was doing Lindsey Huddleston's YouTube show and Ethan Boyd.
I know who Lindsey Huddleston is, but you tell everybody who Lindsey Huddleston is.
He runs SBS Solutions. He runs he's around the program a lot. It's like a sports psychologist type.
That's good enough.
Program, yeah,
I get it.
And he does a good podcast, and he has MSU athletes on. Good guy, smart guy. Good basketball player, all that stuff. All that stuff that really matters in life.
Great father.
But yeah, I don't know if we're done with Deion or not. I think there will be more scrutiny on him, certainly going forward.
But worse than Shedeur, it's Deion though, because Deion's like 55 years old and he's doing these kind of things, right? You would expect you have to be more professional than throwing kids under the bus.
It's not a great look,
no matter what NIL thing is around, right?
You don't want to be calling kids mid or they weren't very good and all that stuff. It's not great.
Chris Eastlick, do you think Do you think NFL teams are going to frown upon kids who change schools from year to year or semester to semester, especially those that do it in the 11th hour?
Well, I think it's certainly part of your conversation when you do a draft interview, and especially if you've been to 3 different schools or 4 different schools. But they'll do a lot of their own research on why you left, and they'll know the kid a little bit. They're not going to – so many kids are going to transfer, and I heard the stat basically on the number of first 2-day draft, first, second, and third round draft picks who had transferred once. And it was like, I think it was like, I don't want to get the number wrong, but it was a sizable amount. And so transferring once is not something that's going to put off teams at all. Certainly didn't put off anybody on Keon Coleman, for example. But certainly if you bounce around all the time and you look like somebody who's, scared to, buckle up the chin strap and grind, I don't know what
Buckle up the chin strap?
Yeah, there might be some impact. We missed Shep, by the way, right before
Shep,
Chris.
I'm so sorry. Graham, how does 3PS, formerly known as NIL, actually work? Using Simeon Barrow as an example. He went into the portal last fall, leveraged that for cash to stay at MSU, then went in again at the spring deadline for more cash. Did he actually receive the cash from the first stay deal in the fall, or do they not get it until the season starts or ends?
The way most deals work, you're getting some cash. I mean, there may be some, but the way it was under ST4L, yeah, he definitely received some money to stay at MSU and received it up front. I don't know what percentage or how much exactly, but yeah, and when he went in the portal last fall, I don't know that he was leveraging. I think he thought he was going to leave, just from talking to him. And he kind of came back hat in hand pretty quick. I think he felt bad about leaving. He was looking for his pro career. He was looking not to get hurt. He was looking for a payday too. But I don't think that was about leveraging. He didn't come back. I mean, keep in mind, last fall, ST4L had already pulled out on these guys, right? The NIL situation was not one that anybody was coming back to. He came back to play with his teammates last fall. And, he came back this spring. He had the NIL deal. He got paid some. And that's something they're going to have to look at is when do guys get paid and how do you make it like game checks like the NFL? And, you got to play in the fall to get it. These are good questions.
Varsity softball dad, is a college football super league inevitable if there isn't NIL reform in the next 10 years? And does MSU have the resources to be a player in the future?
I don't know what a super league would look like. I don't hate, like, if there is a super league in the future, and I don't know that there would be, and I don't know what that would look like. But the only way I would like it is if the other sports all played in geographical conferences that made sense. Like if the Big Ten all of a sudden looked like the Big Ten of a few years ago again, and the Pac-12 existed again, and like the Big East in basketball, which is a basketball league, you had all these leagues, the ACC, these leagues that made sense from non-revenue sports through basketball and everything else. If that happened, I could deal with football looking different entirely. I don't want a super league that also includes, men's basketball or whatever. Enough of that screwed up. But to the question is, does MSU have the resources to be a player in the future? I think they do. To what degree, we'll see, but they definitely have. I think there are probably 35 to 40 schools that will find a way to be competitive and do this, and MSU is among them. MSU will find a way to do it.
What does that mean? Obviously not hanging with the big boys in the NIL ranks, right?
Well,
but just middle, as Deion would say, mid.
No, I mean, MSU does all right. It's more about school. It's more about decisions you make in other sports and what you want to put into football. Athletic directors and schools are not going to cut things out of football very easily. But you may see coaching salaries across the board. Even in football, you may see facilities lag. You may see the things that something's going to go. Like if you put the money into paying student athletes, which I think is going to happen in-house pretty soon, there is going to be there isn't unlimited money. Schools that have been spending as much as they possibly could to look like they didn't have any money available are going to stop doing that, and they'll find that money available. But those things that they were spending on before are going to go away a little bit. But MSU will absolutely be a player in that. Let's take a really quick break. We come back, we'll dig into more of your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options, precision crafted cannabis, and also our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. And here's the best part. Mention Couch in the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a free GoPro 8 with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss, plus the college and pro hoops are red hot and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes Couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch and the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube presented by Pure Options, precision crafted cannabis, where cannabis meets community. Pure Options is part of our community, part of a number of communities around the state, and they're here for you to help you get through the weekend, to help you get through pain management, to help you relax, to chill, to find energy, whatever it is you're looking for. Go to Pure Options and ask. They're very helpful. They'll help you choose what you want for your cannabis experience. And our end-of-week Friday show, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Back to the Groovy Donut Tour questions.
Professor, next, predict the future. What will college football look like in 5 years?
Players will be paid
Super
through
League.
Yeah, no, I think the conferences will exist to some degree like they do now. College football playoff at 14 or 18 teams, whatever. But I do think you will have a situation where there is a real change in how other sports are funded, perhaps, because of this, because of having to pay salaries to athletes in-house, because NIL will pretty much come in-house. But there will still be outside NIL. It'll still be the real haves that have an advantage. And the real question for me, and I don't know this, is by then will we see an effect on the interest in the sport? And I tend to think we will a little bit, but I can't answer that.
Professor, do you think Spartan Stadium is ugly? If so, how would you improve it?
Do you think Spartan Stadium is ugly?
I don't think it's an ugly stadium, no. I just think it needs to be renovated, and like any other stadium, it has to be. You have to have some sort of upkeep, right?
Just don't mess with the piss troughs. I would, there are things.
Can't get rid of those.
I don't, the upper deck that doesn't have the press box side that feels like it's just out in the wind and in the elements and everything like that. I don't, but aesthetically it looks okay. I think being over there would suck on a cold day.
When that's empty across the way from the press box, though, too, it looks so bad. That's the problem. It's hard to fill those seats up there in the upper deck jerk guy section.
It's tough for me because, I obviously grew up here, grew up going there, have some nostalgic feelings for that particular building, but not a fan.
No fan. Not a fan of nothing.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah, thank you. But I don't know if there's anything that needs to be improved. I also will say this. I don't spend very much time in the parts of the stadium where most people are. And the concourse.
Ooh, listen to this guy.
Well, no, I go every day and I go up to the press box and I sit there and and then I go down to the press conference area. So
I guess I'll go hang with the common folk.
The areas that would need improvement, I might not be the first to know, is what I'm saying.
I'll be back, guys. I got to go hang with the poor people. Professor, do you think, Levi, how about an actual pay-for-play system on NIL? Create a contract based on production like the pros. Increasing payouts per year with the program incentivizes kids to work and stay.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is NIL is right now, though, being used as an incentive to lure to recruit people. And if some places aren't doing that, you can't. This isn't something you can require of people. So at Ohio State, they're like, nah, we're not going to do this, incentive where you have to do these things or meet these standards to get paid. We're not gonna do that. It's gonna make it easier for them to recruit against you unless there's uniformity. And NIL again is outside right now. It's a separate thing. It's supposed to be endorsements, even though it's not. What you've basically done is you've created a system where a separate entity is paying salaries, and because of that, you don't have control over it until it's brought in house, until they're employees, until there's contracts. But I think you do have to get something organizationally that works better than this. This is not something that's sustainable. This is not something that will last as it is and continue interest at the level. People are frustrated with it. And I think even though when you get to the season, a lot of people will still watch for a while, it will have an effect. If this went on for 20 years, I'm going to tell you right now, college football would feel it in the ratings big time. And any freaking national writer moron who says otherwise, they need to go cover a team. They need to live in the minutia of shit that isn't Ohio State football and Alabama football and the SEC. They need to live where most people live for a little while and get a better perspective on things.
Andrew Zuiza, do we ever get to the point where players don't need to enroll in classes since they're employees?
The college element's got to be there. I would, I don't. But at that point, then what's the point of 4 years of eligibility? Why not have 15, 20? Why not? Can I play as long as I want? The college element of this needs to exist, and I think if it doesn't, a lot of colleges wouldn't be okay with that. A lot of people wouldn't be okay with that. The thing would fall away.
So just fake go to class.
There's got to
make
be
people think you're going
something.
to class.
Well, the problem is most of these kids need to go to class. Most of them aren't going to play professional football. They need what the college is actually offering. College is not, for most kids, getting an actual scholarship to go to a really good school and for free is not a bad deal. And to get everything they're getting out of this. I mean, and that's the other thing. I mean, it's not like they're not getting anything out of, going to school. I mean, there's value in that.
Andrew Zuiza, you say you're not a Lions fan, but you watch film of St. Brown after he was drafted to say he was a great pick, but you're not a Lions reporter. Only a diehard does that. What are you hiding, Graham?
Well, I just watched the clips that were sort of shown around of him, and that jumped out.
You made
at
it
me.
sound like you were crushing tape.
No, I was not.
St. Brown tape.
It's not in a room with Keon Coleman.
I just watched all of his receptions from 2022.
No, I wasn't. If I misled you, I apologize on that. To your point, though, I'm not I'm interested in the Lions. I'd like the Lions.
Oh my God, why is everything weird? Just fucking root for the Lions.
I root for the Lions.
I don't like my birthday. I don't know what it is. So,
I do
just fucking root for the Lions.
I do, but I'm saying I root for the Lions. But when they lose, I can't help how I feel. I'm saying what I feel is genuine.
So that means you're a fan?
No, I'm not a fan, but I'm not a fan like you're a fan. I don't die inside, is what I'm saying when they lose. That's all I'm saying. You have to be true to how you actually feel. unlike most American fans of English soccer teams, I am true to my actual feelings.
Such a weirdo. Zuiza, bait question. If aliens come declaring war, do all countries team up or some wait and hope everyone takes each other out?
Depends who's in charge. But
team up against what? Aliens?
It's a bait question, though. It's a pure options.
Listen, a-hole. I came with a baked take about freaking tornadoes, and everybody thinks I'm like serious. Like, I'm just asking a question. Have we not tried to do anything about fucking tornadoes? But then he comes up with this one, aliens versus everyone, and you're like, hey, just hear him out a little bit.
I'm gonna tell you,
you know what? I mean, Jesus.
I'm going to tell you
my
what
own
I do.
show doesn't even retweet my fucking stuff. You know, what is going on here?
We retweet you all the time.
Whatever.
You went on Sheehan's podcast. I tweeted the hell out of that.
That
It
was
great.
fun. Yeah.
It was great. You were
Shout
terrific.
out.
You
Shout
were
out to
terrific.
Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And-
Peter Secchia.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
I can't believe, dude. I was thinking of what's the guy on the side, the
Saint Andre.
St. Andre. God damn, I could not think of that.
At one point,
When I found out Secchia is dead, I'm like, oh shit.
people haven't seen it. Jason's suggestion was that MSU reach out to Peter Secchia for more fun.
It was just
The late
one
Peter
name.
Secchia.
I'm saying people of his ilk.
And,
you know?
and his widow, by the way, just gave a ton of money to MSU tennis. So it's not like the Secchia
fucking
brand.
tennis. Well, what do you got, $1 million to get Izzo his second natty? I mean, I love tennis. What are we giving money to tennis for?
They need a
Right
new
now?
facility. Yeah, they're a good
Izzo
program.
gets a second natty. Fucking tennis gets everything.
How
about that rule?
I tell you this: if aliens invaded, though, I would move to Freeport, Illinois, because I do feel like it would be the last place they would come look.
I would find a bunker and then just go on a bender. End it. T-Bone's dad, any update or posturing on who will replace Mark Montgomery?
Not yet. Nothing I've heard. And, the latest statement from Izzo was that he was going to wait until after the transfer portal closed to go hard onto this. So I think you'll see something, movement here pretty shortly.
By the way, Locked On Spartans, Matt Sheehan, I had to, because he did ask, obviously, if I could come on the show. And I'm like, sure. So I watched a couple episodes, one with yours, and I'm like, I panicked because I'm like, you guys were going deep, and you talk about depth charts, and I'm watching him, and he's going deep with players, and I'm like, hey, man, I just want to let you know, I don't go really deep like that. I don't know what you want to talk about.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No. I'm just saying that's why I wanted to preface it to make sure, because it's like one of those shows. Like a lot of the listeners know way more about shit than I do. I just didn't want to go on the show and bomb.
I thought it was a funny segment where he named an athlete, and you had to decide if it was an MSU athlete or a Kentucky Derby jockey.
Yeah,
that was good.
A fun game. I started off hot.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a fun show. Thanks for having me on. T-Bone's dad. What's the worst Lions outcome you'll be willing to accept next season? I.e., would losing to the 49ers in the NFC game be the floor?
Accept is a strong word here, right?
Yeah, see, why do we have to do these all summer?
Well, accept is a strong word. Like, I hate that this is unacceptable.
I hate just anything about this.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, they could have, what does accept mean if they don't meet something that's acceptable to people lose their jobs? Like, you can have a year in the NFL where people get hurt and you have injuries or you get upset. It happens. Like, look, I mean,
I'm not accepting anything though that. I'm not going to accept it. I'm going to complain about it until I turn blue in the face and hopefully get over it in about a decade.
Well, think about the Baltimore Ravens, who had the best team all year, and you're not going to, they had what would be considered probably an unacceptable result to everybody in their organization, right?
Sure.
And they were the best team in football, and they didn't get it done. And yet, you're not going to overreact and veer too much when you're the best team in football. Like, if you're the Lions and you're still a really good team and you get upset next year, or you have an untimely injury that hurts you.
It sounds like someone that's not a fan of any team would say.
Sorry.
Yeah. Ken Chu, now that the Big Ten men's basketball matchups have been announced, what do you think about my take that the Big Ten tournament will become the more recognized championship?
Yeah, still don't buy it for a couple reasons. One, the regular season still sets the seeds, which creates the tournament. So the tournament's created on the regular season. So the regular season is something that is no longer relevant because you don't have a balanced schedule or anything close to a balanced schedule. Then the tournament is based on something that's got the same problems. I'm not saying it's a true balanced schedule, and there's no doubt that scheduling will impact who wins the championship. But as long as the Big Ten the tournament is not treated like the end-all, be-all by the teams playing in it, number one, and they play it on Sunday where nobody has time to celebrate or care at all, right before the brackets are announced, it can't be. as long as it's played on Sunday, it is not the most recognized championship. It just isn't. And also, the banner that goes up still says Big Ten champion if you win the regular season. It says Big Ten tournament champion if you don't. So unless that changes too, and the words matter. And but I'm one of the stronger people feeling this way. But it's not just me. It's how Purdue plays in the Big Ten tournament. It's how people view the Big Ten tournament in terms of its importance. And I also want the regular season to have meaning. There's so much of college basketball is losing its meaning and everything. Like if those 2 months aren't for something, if the regular season isn't for the championship, then what are we fucking doing? The Super Bowl is already going to go to President's Day. You already only got like a 6-week season where most of the world's tuning in. Like for the rest of everybody, we should get to enjoy the grind of the regular season. That should be for a championship that matters, not 3 days that half the teams are checked out of at the end, playing right into a tournament that's much more important that ends in so much so you can't even celebrate it. So to me, there are so many variables beyond the balanced schedule before the Big Ten tournament could ever be the tournament. And one is like, all right, fuck it. The regular season doesn't matter, then great. We'll just we'll do shows in late February and maybe December after the what's the point? The Big Ten, to me, the regular season should always matter and should always matter more. If otherwise, we're just wasting our fucking time. Sorry, I didn't mean to be so loud.
Tom Lizzo. Considering Izzo's not going to retire until he coaches Mateen Cleaves Jr., which gives him a 4 to 8 year window, I don't think he cares about a rental center this year and would rather develop Cooper and Kohler for their senior year with a team around them that's more likely to win it all.
I don't 4 to 8 year window. I don't know if Izzo's thinking that way.
Cleaves Jr.?
Late 70s. I don't think he's thinking that way.
Is Cleaves Jr. a baller?
I think so. I've talked to Mateen about him once.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Oh, he's just at a practice that we were at.
Oh,
and I just
were you the Lindsey Huddleston there? Or?
Lindsey was probably there.
Oh, okay,
cool. To the point though about not caring about this year, the one thing you have this year that will be tough to replicate perhaps is whatever Xavier Booker becomes, right? So if Xavier Booker is a real difference maker, you don't always have a 6'11" guy with that sort of skill who's going to play in the NBA most likely, who 7'4", 7'5" wingspan. Like that, you got to take advantage of that. Like, and this might be the only year you get to do that. Now, having said that, if Booker is that guy that looks like he's going to be an impact NBA player, then MSU has a chance to be really, really good and build and play around him this year.
Chuck Fish and Dat Dude next. Did MSU part ways with Brandon Lane for academic reasons? What the hell happened?
This is the transfer who came in from the portal and like 2 days later was back in the portal, and I don't know. Here's the thing.
Thanks for the trip. I'll see you.
Yeah. I've been joking about this, sort of joking with other writers. Like at some point, are we just doing a weekly roundup of the guys who come in and out of the portal? Like, are we really going to give them each their own fucking headline?
Yep.
And so with Brandon Lane, a guy who was barely in and barely, I'm not gonna make that call. I have no idea. At some point, I'll hear it because I'll ask when I'm around it. But I'm not gonna make a call separately about him. And it's not that I don't think it's interesting or whatnot. It's just, man, there's just so much of this happening now, and I'm thankful every day that I don't cover it on a daily basis like some of the beat guys.
Why are we shocked though? We knew going into this it was going to be a shit show.
Yeah, I think.
Why are we all like, oh my God, this is weird?
But I think when you see it happening to the program you cover for the first time and to this degree, it takes a minute. I mean, it is. There's no doubt, and I understand why fans are like, what is this? And a lot of people feel like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this anymore.
That dude, I'm confused. Is the transfer portal closed or not? Can players still be added in both sports? My God, this is all so dumb and needs to be fixed.
So the portal is closed in the sense that they cannot get into the portal anymore. But if you're already in the portal, the deadline for that is passed. That was May 1st. If you're in the portal, though, you don't have to sign with a team now. You can go all the way up till school starts. So, like when you talk about Izzo in the center position, and there'll be fewer guys available. But if you're in the portal and it's the middle of the summer, you can still join a team. You can take your time. The guys who are in the portal right now who are trying to go through the NBA draft, process, they can after that decide if they want to go somewhere else. So there will be time to add players for quite a while. But they can't join. No new players can join.
Matt C. next. How did college athletics end up with a model where compensation isn't tied to performance? We ended up with socialism where every scrub on an average team is making six figures.
It's not exactly that, though, because the guys aren't all making the same amount. And not every scrub is making six figures. The places that have NIL money, some of the scrubs are making six figures. Some guys who are less than scrubs are making six figures. But what you have here is you just have an outside model where you're luring people with payment, which happens in professional world too. It happens in sports. It happens in business. But there's no way to hold them accountable, really, or we haven't gotten there yet. And that's something that needs to be figured out. Next
one from Matt C. Graham, why are you hating on Brad Holmes, but you 69 Troy Weaver, who has a worse record than the process 76ers, who are trying to lose? And from Dan Grafe, why does Couch give Brad Holmes crap about his draft picks, but defends Izzo on the roster he put together?
Well, I'm a noted hypocrite, as I've said before. And
noted contrarian.
A couple things. Yeah, I mean, part of this is just
you didn't have another hot take.
I'm taking the other side a little bit here, and if everybody, put it this way, if people were like shitting on Brad Holmes, like I don't know about this, I'd be like, well, wait a second, look at all the things he's done. Yeah. The problem is everybody's, and I'm not.
So you're just trying to be a contrarian.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not really. I'm just trying to point out where. I mean, like if everybody was saying Izzo's roster looks perfect, I'd say, well, and yes, but
Cockburn,
we don't know if the center position is going to be adequate, and we don't know a lot of other things about this team and whether it'll be adequate. If with the Pistons, if people were saying, Troy Weaver look at who he's drafted, this is still a really good place to be in, it'd be like, well, actually, you can't build a roster around them that's able to compete. I'm just pointing out. I'm just pointing out the other side of things. So everybody's been gushing about Brad Holmes, and I'm not hating on Holmes.
We went to the NFC Championship game last year.
I'm sorry.
I saw a playoff victory in person at home.
I don't even know if I hated on
Fucking
Holmes.
Brad Holmes can do whatever he wants.
I will leave Brad Holmes alone.
Just leave him alone. Ricky Lombardi. Is Brad Holmes flexing his trade-up muscle too often? Fuck. No problem trading up for guys that project as immediate contributors, but giving away future draft capital for projects, Manu, and special teams, Vakai, seems like a stretch. So you pick out two of the moves that you're kind of, I don't know about, but
yeah, and he's,
flexing dude. He wants a guy, trade up and get him.
Well, we talked about this the other day with Nick Baumgartner, and if you haven't listened to that episode, that's available from Wednesday. But it was a really good conversation, and one of the things that was very clear from Nick's reporting on this is that these were like guys that just had stuck with Holmes. Like he wasn't going to be able to sleep at night if he didn't draft these guys. And I don't blame a GM for, and this is, again, me taking the other side. Like, I don't blame a GM for, who especially is drafted as well as he has late in drafts and fixed a primary need at the top of the draft with two corners, for having guys, like, if he wasn't going to be able to sleep at night if he let these guys pass, and, like, one of them 2 years from now is, like, a breakout star in the NFL, and he's like, I followed a mock draft instead. What was I thinking? Freaking Daniel
Thanks
Jeremiah.
a lot, Peter Schrader.
Yeah, right. I don't. Yeah, you do have to be careful with that sort of thing, but I don't.
Yeah, though. I mean, if you're moving up, if you look at the trades, is he giving up that much? You just move up a little bit.
His drafts have been so good at this point that I'm,
But why are we searching for stuff? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
let's just have fun.
That's what we do.
Let's do it. Let's go. Ricky Lombardi. Why did I renew my season football tickets before the transfer portal closed? Not sure I would have made the same decision.
So this is where it gets interesting. And I think most people will. And there will be some people like my mother who are just going to keep renewing their tickets because she likes to take people to games, and we've had them, in the family now for a while. But I do think there will be some people who won't. Maybe not this year, but if this continues. And when you ask the question about 5 years, what this all looks like, I do think if the pace of movement, if nothing is rectified, or if whatever system they come up with, and I do think they will work to come up with something that's palatable, and there are smart people who understand that this could go south, even if sometimes it doesn't seem like it, and they'll arrive at something that's at least gives it a shot. But there's a chance that people don't like this as much, and there's a chance that it's harder to compete, or you don't like what it is, and you want to rather do other things with your Saturdays or your other things with your basketball time. If that program goes a different route too over the years, it starts becoming a transient. Every other year, there's a whole roster turnover, and you don't know the guys, and they're not invested in Michigan State, and so why would you be invested in them? These are questions, and this is the danger for the sport, and I think it's a danger in men's basketball, which is a revenue sport by not nearly as much as football. Men's basketball does not bring in a whole lot of extra money. It brings in the NCAA tournament, brings in a fair bit of money, but the amount of money MSU men's basketball actually brings in for the school is like less than a quarter of football. So they need to be a little more careful even.
Corey Ostrom, why do people still use the tired narrative of if coaches can move when they want, players should too? It's not the same. Coaches are under contract and have to be bought out. Kids have no deterrence. They are literally moving 2 to 3 times per season in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, this is a dumb narrative at this point. Now, it made sense for a while before. Like,
but how great would it be, though, if you were like a college athlete and you could just go, oh, man, let me Arizona State's campus looks fun. I'm going to go play there this year. That would be awesome. Like, oh, Michigan State campus looks fun. I'm going to go play there.
Yeah, and I don't know if it helps you develop and I don't think it helps you become a better player, but it could be fun while you're in college, or it might. There might be guys who are leaving for the right reasons. Like I'd love to play for this coach or this offensive line coach. I don't think I'm getting it where I'm at right now, and so there will be examples of people who are doing it for reasons that make some sense. But to the narrative point, you're 100% right. I mean, coaches do have buyouts. They have contracts when they, if they leave for the pros, players have always been able to leave for the pros. If they leave for another college, if you had situations like in Premier League soccer, and maybe we head to this point now where if a player leaves, there's a buyout and that school can choose to pay that buyout or not, then it's a little more, I think contracts are the way we're headed because this doesn't work. This does not come close to working. It's very different than coaches, by the way, who've come up, who paid their dues in the business, who are there fewer of.
What about their families? What about the coaches' families? Kids are going to have to move and change schools, Graham. Yeah, how do they do it? Millions of dollars.
Oh, not all. Yeah, you're right.
Depends on what the wife wants.
This is not apples and oranges though anymore. It's not apples to apples anymore. And players should have freedom to move, but it shouldn't look like this in a sport that's going to be successful over time, if that matters.
Corey Ostrom, what's the only negative about my wife and I celebrating our birthdays in Fort Myers Beach? No recreational weed. Medical cards only. Come on, DeSantis. Stop worrying about what the schools are teaching and legalize weed.
And most of is Fort Myers back yet? I mean, didn't the whole place went down to a hurricane, right? Like 2 years ago? I know the house we were going to stay at was
destroyed. Time enough to rebuild, or no?
Yeah, maybe it's back.
They got it done by now.
Yeah, that's probably.
Corey, are you flying there or drive? I mean, you can bring your own. Go to Pure Options and stock up a little bit. I always travel with mine when I fly out of Detroit Metro. It's legal here, so I've never been. I've had it on my carry-on. I've had it.
For the record, we are not advocating going to Pure Options and crossing state lines with marijuana. That's not what we're saying here.
No, but you can get on an airplane and go to another state, and no one's going to bust your balls. Just don't try to bring stuff back.
And just don't mention Pure Options when you're.
Say Skymint. No? Oh. Kevin from Rochester Hills. Who are your top 3 picks for the Kentucky Derby?
All right, so I did a little bit of research on this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's so it seems like there are only a couple who are, it's a 2-horse race. But if you're looking for a dog, the one I kind of like after doing some research is this Japanese horse, Forever Young, right? And so that's where I'm at. But it does sound like Fierceness and Sierra Leone are in a class by themselves, and Fierceness is probably the best that exists. So Fierceness is it. Yeah.
That's it?
That's all I got.
Oh, I had horse racing music for you.
I like this. This is good. Yeah.
Who's the pick then?
Fierceness.
Okay.
But that's the favorite. So I would go with Forever Young as a dog.
All right. Kevin from Rochester Hills, most overrated vacation spot you've been to?
What's the most overrated place you've ever been?
Mexico.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why is it overrated?
Well, like Corey was just talking about, traveling and trying to worry about some sort of drugs. I just feel like Mexico is beautiful, and I enjoyed my time when I was there, but I feel like you can have fun somewhere, like Corey said, in Fort Myers or somewhere where, You don't have to. I just like going where weed's legal and I have access to it. I don't have to chase shitty pills and excuse me, like weird pharmacies and stuff to try to have fun. It's just, I'd rather just go somewhere, maybe in Florida, somewhere with nice weather. Hell, I went to Wisconsin and had a damn blast. So why do I have to go to a foreign country and have my passport and shit?
So I would say a couple places. One, any place in the Wisconsin that faces Lake Michigan that doesn't have a sunset. Like, what a waste. Like, people from Chicago travel to Wisconsin. Like, what fucking idiots. Like, do they know about Michigan? Like, we've got the best coast there. And then I would
cheese curds.
Traverse City, overrated. Lots of places around Traverse City, amazing. Leland, Northport, M22, that whole, you got a lot. But Traverse City itself, a little overrated.
Cherry Festival?
Yeah, it's the worst. Niagara Falls, fun place to swing by on the way somewhere and look at the falls or go on the Maid of the Mist. Very cool. To actually stay there, and there's a lot of I would say it's overrated. Those would be my overrated places.
Jarrett, next. How did you guys feel the last time the Lions made the NFC Championship game and lost? Was there a lot of hope of repeat success for the next year back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was tons of hope.
Like
I hit
12
puberty
years old,
and
yeah.
I was watching B-movie porn on Cinemax and scrambled porn. That's pretty much all I was thinking about.
The Lions and porn?
Yeah, I figured the Lions were going to be good at some point in my life, and I just
so what you have to keep in mind for
tugging my mule
for us old fucks is that like back then there was no free agency. So if you grew up in the 80s like we did, there would be teams that were bad for like a decade. The Eagles were bad for a decade. The Cowboys were bad for a decade. People were just bad for a while. But when you got good, then you got to be good for a while. That's the way it worked. Free agency did not exist. And free agency kind of screwed the Lions. Now, the Lions screwed the Lions too. But if free agency had never existed in the 90s, who knows where that group would have gone. And they were getting good. And so I thought as a 12-year-old, like, okay, now the Lions get to be good. And they were sort of ish. They were competitive, but they didn't, they were better than the Cowboys after the 91 season. The Cowboys kept going and won Super Bowls, and the Lions didn't. And but yeah, I thought the Lions were on their way to be, because that year, you remember in 91, there were three teams that had been bad in the 80s that were on their way up. It was the Falcons, it was the Cowboys, and it was the Lions. And the Lions were the best of the three, and we all thought that was going to stick.
Kurt Wisniewski, why are Michigan fans continuing their defense of this year's national championship? Graham, we need the Connor Stallion CMU sideline, alleged participation on MSU sideline theater, Chris Hansen interview. What is this sentence? Chris Hansen interview. For heaven's sake, Nick just did Locked On Spartans with Sheehan.
I don't know how these things are related, Kurt. I appreciate you. This sounds like a Pure Options
like the end, like
tweet.
I can't believe this. Nick, Jesus, even Nick is on Locked On Spartans with Sheehan. That's all I get.
Working on it. Efforting.
Yeah, Sparty and GL. I love that you leave it in, though. The replay I hate is when the ball is hit out of your hands and they have to see whose fingerprint touched it last. Make the hand a part of the ball on this call like they do other times and rightfully call it off the other guy who provided the momentum for it to go out. Agree?
I kind of do. So this was the idea that they're talking about adding more replay to college basketball, which, again, if you're not going to do 6 fouls, I say replay every play. Make it 5-hour game. Go to 6 fouls, and you'll have me on the other side of this. But I do think when you slow things down and you technically see who the ball hit off of last, I don't know if that's the right way to go, because technically, again, in a sport that doesn't allow a lot of contact, you could call a foul on almost every steal and every block. Technically, if we review it, your hand nicked my hand slightly. So, again, if somebody's creating the momentum of it, I'm totally with you here.
David Jackson, are Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson this era's Steve Kemp and Jason Thompson? Players who can help the Tigers be good and win games, but a World Series will only come when they're moved to other clubs and replaced by better pieces.
It's not just the Tigers. There are lots of players who were who was it, Jerry Stackhouse with the Pistons before their great era. There are lots of guys who are, Chucky Atkins came in, was a nice point guard with Ben Wallace for a minute on that trade for Grant Hill, and I don't know, but this happens all the time.
What does that have to do with the Tigers?
I don't. But I'm saying this happens all the time where there are guys who are part of the rise for a minute, but they're not. What did LeBron say? Was it LeBron who said it about what's his nuts for the Memphis Grizzlies who just signed with Houston?
Zach Randolph.
No, we're not. I don't care about the name. But
Michael Porter Jr.
No, what he said was, something about the fuck. Now
You need some off?
no, the dynasty. The dynasty starts after you, is what he said, which is a real put down of somebody. Basically, you're not the dynasty. The dynasty starts after you. Basically, when you leave, and so there are all those guys who are like part of the build, but they're just not the key guys. When Mehmet Kerr with the Pistons, really good player, but they needed to make that trade to get Rasheed Wallace, right?
Are you just destined to talk about random Piston shit?
Yes, I don't know what's going on
early
here.
2000s?
We'll fix this in post. This is the worst. David, to your answer, I don't know, but I appreciate the question.
David Jackson, along with Peter Secchia, should Michigan State pursue donations, perhaps for Cobb's field improvements from baseball great and Phillies Hall of Famer Robin Roberts?
Really, all the dead people. That's where they ought to call. Yeah.
Boy, you guys are critics, man. I'll see you on that show. Ryan speaks. Izzo dismissed Corey Lucius and Chris Allen for their pure options habits. Now that it's legal, are the players allowed to indulge? Same question for the football team. I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, some of the NCAA rules as of 2022, they've really cut back on how they're
it's Schedule 3 now. DEA, the DEA just announced.
Yeah, you're not coming after people. And schools even back then could decide how much they wanted to test. It was MSU's fault that they tested so much. I mean, Montez Sweat could have been on that football team if they just backed off testing a little bit. So crazy. It was ridiculous how we looked at it and how many guys got tested for it regularly. It's not because what the NCAA has basically said is it's not a performance enhancing drug. Therefore, leave it alone for the most part.
I perform pretty well on it sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Would Therese say so?
What, are you getting personal? You want to talk about, you want to go there right now?
I don't think
no.
Actually.
Mojo Jojo, can we convince Coach Smith to grow a mustache so we can have an IRL Mario roaming the sidelines this fall? Would the Mario stash be a boon in recruiting, or is Gen Z not big on Nintendo? Could the donors also be influenced by the stash? Every successful Peruvian military general had an amazing mustache.
The only way this works, and I don't think it works on donors as much as it works on recruits, because recruits won't care about the Mario stash. But you'd
be surprised though.
Yeah, and if it became a thing, like if it became a YouTube sensation or became something on social media that was like, this is funny, it becomes a segment, it could become a thing.
How it has to happen is the team needs to do something in order for him to grow it, right? And then people get behind it. If he just all of a sudden busted out to try to get recruits into some Nintendo shit,
it would get weird.
It'd be weird, yeah. Mojo Jojo, Graham, can we get Garrett Bringingstool, the new MSU NIL director, on for some Q&A after the Izzo episode, of course?
Yeah, we could have. I like Garrett a lot. Garrett's a smart guy. And
Hans Jurgen will be in on that one too.
Yeah, but we could have Garrett on sometime. Sure.
Richard Kane, will there ever be a more baked take than why don't we have a tornado strip or something to stop these tornadoes? Listen, Dick Kane, I'm just trying to do a baked take, okay? This is a thought I had with all of these tornadoes going on. I'm not saying, but really, if you think about it, why not? We can't do it. We can't sprinkle anything in a tornado to make it slow it down a little bit, make it like a category 1 instead of a 5 or whatever.
I'm going to say, and if on Mother's Day, this is the sort of conversation you're going to bring to the table with your mom, make sure you also bring Groovy Donuts.
What else are you going to talk about?
Groovy Donuts. Bring a box of Groovy Donuts. And, again, special Mother's Day donuts you can have made. You can have your mom's face on a donut. Send in a picture. I mean, that's a lot. So maybe your mom's name, if you want to do a specialty donut, might be a better way to go. But Groovy Donuts will have Mother's Day donuts next week available. Go to groovydonuts.com. Place your order today. Either location, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. And as always, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. And even for any occasion, be it an open house, whatever it is, they will add to your party. They'll add to your gathering. They'll add to your weekend. Go to groovydonuts.com.
Richard Kane, how might the new FTC ruling get rid of non-compete clauses, affect player transfers once the inevitable happens and players become employees?
I don't know. I don't know, because I think a lot of things are going to have to be agreed upon, and so it's everything's up in the air right now. I just don't know. I don't have an answer to that, and I'm curious how quickly the whole system is going to be different. And you listen to some people, you think it could happen in the next year.
JD, am I the only one who thought the Graham's wife laughing drop was actually Graham? Like, I swear when Jason played the full clip the first time, that noise was Graham laughing at her joke. No, that's you.
Yeah.
No, that's her.
That's definitely her. That's definitely her. Yeah.
Maybe. Wait, I was like thinking, is that you? No way. JD, I'm on Team Jason. Where's the Acme Tornado Vacuum 3000 to come and suck up a tornado when it gets too close to a heavy populated area?
That would be an incredible invention.
I'm just asking. Can we talk about? Maybe we can get a group together and of tornado people. We can just,
I feel like 29-year-old Jason, failed sportsbook Jason.
No.
That would have been an idea. You would have been like,
I don't
"Can we
think
do this?"
so.
No?
I wasn't that advanced back then.
No,
I didn't have pure options in my life.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. It's
apparently there's no dumb questions except for one I apparently ask one. Jesus.
Have you ever had like a harebrained invention idea or anything like that?
I did. I actually contacted a patent office and realized how crazy that was. I designed a way, this was back in 2002, like a refrigeration piece on a shopping cart for grocery stores, so you could take your time in a store, because when you were going through a grocery aisle in the freezer section, and honestly, ice cream melts so fucking fast that sometimes you want to just relax in the store, so you're hurrying out of there. So it was the only, my former stepdad, it was the only time he ever gave me a compliment, and he hated me. So he was like, that's not a bad idea. So I actually started working on the design of it and everything.
So how far did it get?
Oh, the design stage. And then I found out what it took to get into the whole patent space, and I'm too dumb for that. So I don't
hate where you're at though.
I know that's why everybody kind of they're like, Jesus, wait a minute, because this was 23-year-old Rube. So I was like, everybody was really expecting the worst.
Yeah. Well, and for somebody like me who just recently figured out the difference between chickpeas and garbanzo beans, or not that there is no difference, they're the same thing.
Right.
So I often, it takes me 5 hours to shop because I get lost. I don't know what things are.
You have a meal during it.
I do. I eat sushi while I shop. I sometimes run into Matt Mancarini at Meijer, and all of a sudden, we're chatting, and it just, the whole thing's, I just look at longingly at the whiskey bottles. Lots of things go wrong at the. So I
think there's there's lots of money to be made in grocery stores. They're just, the way they're run is wild to me.
That is a story we're telling. Actually, we're telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. And again, Mother's Day brunch at Midtown. Great way to spend Mother's Day, to show Mom you care. 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. is their Mother's Day brunch. I suggest you call for reservations, 517-977-1349. Midtown Brewing Company. It's an awesome brunch. I did this with my mom a couple years ago. We had a fantastic time. The food was incredible. And the Mother's Day brunch at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
Bo McJunkin's next. Political issues aside, do you think Graham should be used to break up any protests that block roads? He can explain the logistical nightmare, being a logistics guy. And even if the people blocking the road don't like his ideas, they may just quit and walk away during the story. Dude, that's a great one. Like a negotiation coordinator. Graham just goes in and starts telling stories, dude. Clears people out.
People are like, oh my God, the hell's he going to that one?
Oh, no, they're blocking downtown. Let's send Graham Couch over there. Tell him the oatmeal story, Graham. We got to hurry this up. Get him out of there.
Student protesters are taking down their tents because Graham's telling those stories to
oh, man, that's great.
Yeah, I would be there are worse ideas in this world, Bo.
Jay Riemenschneider, do you watch the Michigan-based PBS shows like Under the Radar Michigan, Great Getaways, Destination Michigan, etc.? Awesome shows that highlight things and places in Michigan you may not have known.
No, I don't know about any of these shows. I should do that.
Jesus, how much weed do you have to smoke to watch one of those?
Well, no, but here's the thing: is one of the problems with the streaming world, and when you get away from cable for a while, and I've gone back to it, is things like PBS. You just stop watching because even if I watch like a British sitcom or a British show, I stream it through a different, whatever. It's not the same way. It used to be like, oh, it's on at 8 o'clock on PBS, or I'll record it tonight. That sort of thing. You just don't do things the same way. And PBS is one of the things that sort of left my life in a way that I wish it hadn't.
David Cox next. Jason seems down to earth. Good dude. What's he do during the day when not podcasting? I don't know. Golf or something.
Yeah.
What do you mean? We're supposed to do something other than this?
Yeah. Professional golf. Really,
yeah.
is it?
Yeah, right. David Cox, everyone is so dang hard on Jackson Kohler. He's talented, if you ask me. However, what's he missing to take him to the to elite? In my opinion, it's the jumper. Can he develop that quickly?
Apparently, he had the green light last summer. So, it didn't show up once he come back, and I think they probably should have let him shoot a little more and find it. Like the things they messed up with Jackson Kohler last year, one was they should have redshirted him once he couldn't come back till January. Two was, if you're going to bring him back, try to get back the things you wanted out of him, even if it cost you a little bit. Try to play through him a little bit. Let him shoot the things that you saw from him. He had the green light. Well, give him the freaking green light again. I don't think they handled that as well as they could have. You want to get him all back or you want to redshirt him.
Nate C. Scum cheated their way to a national championship with no real repercussions. Keon Coleman left when we needed him the most, and MSU fans still celebrate him. Izzo said he'd get a center, but didn't. Are college sports really this fucked, or is Twitter messing with my brain?
I mean, these are all different, separate issues here, but it is healthy to get off Twitter right now. At least, block the word transfer portal. If you block those phrases, although I just saw today that things you block are still going to be available on public tweet. I don't know. Elon's not great at this, but yeah, I would.
Dumb Elon.
I would try and mute those phrases. I would say you can't block. Mute those phrases, and your life will be better for a while.
Spartan 18770. Number one, what makes a greater impact on society? A, cure for the common cold, or B, Super Bowl played on a Saturday night?
Oh, I mean, the Super Bowl played on a Saturday night would.
No. I think we need to have Monday be the national holiday.
Yeah, and that's
everyone has it off. So people that even don't watch the Super Bowl.
Well, that's about to happen because Roger Goodell just talked about when they when they add a regular season game and get rid of parts of the preseason, it's going to push it back even further. So the Super Bowl is going to be on President's Day weekend.
But how many people get President's Day off?
A lot of people. President's Day is a lot of
right,
people.
Right. But I mean, not the majority.
I don't know. That's a good question.
So
I don't
just
know.
make it a national holiday.
Yeah, well, and frankly, and move President's Day. President's Day is not like the day. It doesn't have like President's Day could move. It's not like Christmas.
Nobody cares about President's
Move
Day.
it a week back, right? And I understood when the Super Bowl used to be played in January. The idea of moving President's Day to meet, I mean, the Super Bowl didn't make any sense. But now you're a week away anyway. Move President's Day. President's Day is a nothing day. It is we whatever. Move it. But to answer the question, the cure for the common cold is one of the worst things in the world. I mean, because it's slow, it ruins your week. I'd rather be really sick for a very short period of time than have a week of feeling like crud. I think it's the absolute worst. If you cure the common cold, it would be amazing.
Spartan 18770 told my boss that I was going into the portal. He replied, "Who the hell are you? Why didn't it work?"
Got to make yourself known at work. Yep, yeah.
Spartan Jason, prime Linda Carter or whore Carmen Electra? I saw this one last night, so I did some research. I actually asked Treese what she thought. It's got to be prime Linda Carter.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking at prime Linda Carter, obviously a little bit before my time. I know who she is, but, I'm sorry, Carmen Electra. I think I have a new one. It's Linda Carter.
How long were you looking at her last night?
A long time.
Yeah, I figured.
I have to do some research for the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know people say we're not prepared.
That's tax deductible, too, that time. Yeah.
Neurotic pants. Graham, I saw MSU baseball beat Ohio State 17-15 last weekend in Columbus. It was a windy day and a slugfest. What's not to like? I tell you what's not to like. Ohio State Stadium food. I ordered a vegetarian hot dog because I don't like pork. The dog was so dry, it was cracking. Does OSU have the worst stadium food in the Big Ten?
I don't know. I mean, I live a press box life, and in football, they have maybe the best stadium food in the Big Ten.
I have to say, though, if I was going to get a veggie dog, it definitely would be at an MSU a baseball game against Ohio State, though.
Okay. Why?
Because they have to be gourmet. I mean, they have to be good. The whole point is you're asking for a veggie hot dog, Neurotic pants? Nobody eats those except you, apparently. So why would it be good is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the things that are in hot dogs are not that appetizing. Like, you don't want to.
Yeah, but we don't want to know.
Right.
Don't ask questions. Like Mickey D's.
You don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Don't watch any of that shit.
Right. But in terms of the press box food, like, they have these. What are those little McDonald's things, drinks that are like
chicken nuggets?
That's a drink. No, it's the
McFlurries.
It's sort of like that, but it's like there's like an orange one. There's a
Slurpee.
No, it's a McCafe. McCafe something. I don't know. They're really good. And and they have them in the press box at Ohio State games.
Neurotic Pants Jason, would Graham take Elizabeth to Groovy Donuts for a date? Oh, yeah, but he would I think that she wouldn't know about it until she got there.
It wouldn't be the plan until we got there. Yeah,
Let's stop by and say hi to Andrew and Monica.
yeah. It would be
Right.
part of the date.
Yeah,
we would start.
He wouldn't
the
be
date
like,
there.
oh, let's go to.
Or finish the date there. One of the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is it'd have to be an early brunch date. But it'd be 100%.
Neurotic Pants. Guys, have you ever bet on UFC or boxing? Did you know that Vegas used to take some action on WrestleMania?
Wait, did they really?
Yeah. I think some sports books actually still take a piece of WrestleMania. Even though it's scripted.
I bet on a few fights here and there, but not many.
I used to love it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if boxing were good again. I mean, that Tyson thing. I mean, I'll flip it on because it's on Netflix. But, I mean, if they brought back, had some good heavyweight boxing, man, I'd love to game on that.
Well, like my friend Dan Kilbridge, he bets almost, I won't say exclusive. He bets a lot of UFC, watches a lot of and makes money. I mean, that's where
Smart.
he makes the most of his money. If you really know what you're doing, I mean, it's like anything, though. If you want to make money gambling, first of all, don't do it for a living unless you're, I mean, I guess there are pros who do it. But if you have to know something better than the books. You have to really get to know something. And whether it be a mid-major conference in basketball that you just pay a ton of attention to, there are ways to get an edge, especially if you get really specific.
Yeah, GP Sparty. What is Graham's favorite donut?
You know, the go-to saying is the red velvet, and that's probably it. But there have been a few of the,
just right in
peanut butter and jelly. I mean,
Groovy Donuts live read. Go.
Yeah, no. Groovy Donuts has a lot. They've done a few things that some fritters, but the red velvet is still the classic. Like nothing excites me like a red velvet donut from Groovy Donuts. I got to say, like it's still like if that's in the box, that's what I'm drawn to first. It is that it's just so damn good.
Our original Dark Mantonio. What should realistic expectations be for Michigan basketball under Dusty May and the new, bigger Big Ten?
They got a whole new roster too.
Make the tournament.
Yeah, be competitive. Just make right. I would think a tournament team. Good call.
Original. Uper Carl with many.
No, there's one more. Same question, different team.
What should realistic expectations be for MSU football under Jonathan Smith and the new, bigger Big Ten?
I would. Again, this is not next year. We're talking. So to go back to Dusty May, I think you want to be an upper echelon team that is competitive and is in the mix some years and is always in the tournament, right? I think and a lot of that still applies to Jonathan Smith. I think you want to be in the mix for the playoffs some years. You're always a bowl team, always a winning record, and but every 2-3 years you're really thinking about the 12-team playoff, and every few years, every once in a while you've got a chance to. Everybody's kind of excited about what you might be able to do there. That's what you got to try to do. It's really hard to become something you're not, like Ohio State or Alabama, and recruit at that level. But what D'Antonio showed you could do was, be part of the party, and I think that's what you're trying to do.
Uper Carl, with many college athletes now accepting NIL money, they are effectively professional athletes. How then is tuition and room and board not taxable? Once they are being paid, it would seem logical that any benefit they receive from a school is subject to IRS and Michigan taxes. Yeah,
but the NIL money is separate from the school. So that's the thing. It's not the school is their tuition and room and board is not is something the school provides, right? And they're not technically employees yet. So once they are employees, once it's coming through the school, a lot of stuff, the tax component becomes much more in play, but that's just the NIL is separate right now.
Is Carl like pro university? Is this like Bill Beekman or something? I've never heard of someone like coming at the university's defense.
This is Bill Beekman's burner, by the way.
Yeah. Uper Carl, you had an idea to feature every sponsor at the spring game, but Manscaped. You had an idea to feature every sponsor of the spring game, but Manscaped. Come on, man. You could set up a private Manscaped booth at each corner of the stadium. Drop in for a trim. Be better.
Yeah, I don't know how many people you get there. I don't know who wants to. Yeah,
you get some big old Midwest boys in there with some hairy chest and backs. That'd be wild.
Yeah.
Gross.
Mm.
What?
I didn't mean that to sound like yum. Yeah.
Hans Jurgen, is it true that sports writers drink and gamble too much and never get laid?
Pretty much. That's kind of checks out.
Yeah. Hans Jurgen, isn't the University of Michigan a European-style elitist institution that doesn't deserve adoration, but our derision. What's that word? Derision. Isn't like them. Whatever this word is. I don't even. I'm done with that one. Whatever your thoughts are.
Yeah. It's a great school that a lot of people listening to this podcast don't like.
Hans Jurgen, does the Mel Tucker divorce vindicate Alan Haller? How does Kenneth Walker feel?
Oh goodness.
Tuck.
Yeah.
Baby. Diverting funds. I love it. Jake Hawkins, do you think any football players that enter the transfer portal in the last few weeks could possibly return to MSU? I know that all of them won't.
Sure, who knows what the hell they're going to do. And some of them will get there and realize they'd rather be at MSU. Or the other thing players realize is some of the incentives to get them in the portal that are done before they're in the portal, hey, you will get paid this, don't quite check out. And then you get out there and you're like, now I don't trust this school. I'd rather be back there. And then you got to find out if your old school will take you back. So you never know. And people get in the portal for all sorts of reasons. Some of it's leverage. Some of it's like, I'm just not sure I want this, and I got to make a decision by May 1st. So it's possible some could come back.
Next one from the Hawk. Thoughts on MSU assigning Tom Izzo's former basketball chief as assistant AD in charge of NIL?
Yeah, Garrett is a bright guy, and this was not a decision that was. He's been around. He worked for D'Antonio in the football program before that. He knows the programs. He knows what he's doing. Darian Harris is a really smart guy who's in that space for MSU too. I think they've got some good people there.
Where are we at? Jake Hawkins, I've seen some of your recent tweets about rumors that NBC is looking to get NBA coverage back. Do you really think it's a bad idea for the NBA to go back to NBC, even with the old theme music?
I just don't like the only thing that is great about the NBA. The playoffs are great, but the thing that's great. But is inside the NBA with Barkley, Shackley, and Kenny Smith. And if those guys go away, and it sounds like Ernie Johnson would not leave TNT, so you couldn't go somewhere else.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But if they lose that, like
Ernie Johnson won't leave TNT.
Fuck NBC. Nobody should
Dude,
want
NBC's going to offer him $20 million.
Well, you can't go to NBC.
Why not?
Yeah, well,
wherever that show, it needs Ernie Johnson.
Well, if you go to NBC better be really prepared to cancel its late local news, Jimmy Fallon, because those guys are at their best when they're talking until like midnight on NBC.
The Equalizer?
Yeah, I'm just telling you right now, cancel your programming. Get rid of your freaking programming. Because those
Not
guys,
Jimmy Fallon, don't cancel that.
Those guys need time to talk. I think what you'll see is it'll go to streaming. Those guys will be on Peacock or something like that. I'm hoping NBC or TNT gets it back and Peacock? Fuck NBC. I love Peacock. I love Dick Wolf. I love
Peacock.
Anything else with Dick and cock in it?
Pretty much. Let's move on.
The Hawk, after the success of hosting the NFL draft, do you think Detroit will definitely host an NBA or an NHL All-Star game?
It's possible. Yeah, but why not? I mean, do people care about All-Star games anymore if they're in your city? I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think the draft's a bigger deal.
Last one from the Hawk. Aside from fans eventually caving and willing to pay, what's begin the recent greedflation in sports nowadays? Everything from television deals or lack thereof to being too expensive for average people to go to games.
Well, there's always been greed and everything. It sucks, and it shouldn't be hard to watch your team. There should be a way for average people to watch. Average people is such a bad word. It's like I need to not be in politics.
People below sports writers,
not steerage. Everyday Americans, I should say, is what they say in politics, right? But everybody should be able to see, no matter where you are on your income and the ability for kids and them to watch their team play. There has to be a way. The Tigers ought to be accessible to people, even if they can't go to many games a year or any games even. And I hate that we've gotten to a point where that's even difficult. But, yeah, this is the way the business of sports. It sucks. It sucks that it's hard. And I will say that teams tend to do a good job of having certain days where they're family days, and they'll offer certain tickets. And there are ways to get to games. But games should be – first of all, if you want your sport to grow, you want your team to grow generation over generation, you need to make things accessible to people.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, why can't you be more luculent?
I'm dreaming, I'm guided to another world, time and time again.
Clear in thought or expression are easily understood. I'm sorry, I suck at this. I mean, I've told you that's the whole reason that I would be used to stop protests, is just to tell stories that were Unclear in thought or expression. Yeah.
The new bomb squad, Graham Couch. Upper Deck Jerk Guy, are you into feet?
I'm more of a thigh guy. I think we've talked about this. We've talked
On
about
ladies
this.
or dudes?
On dudes.
Oh. Yeah, but he's asking, are you into, like, women's feet? Are you into that? Or
I don't
you have
really
a foot fetish?
I don't really pay attention to feet.
Yeah, it's weird. Jerk Guy, what normal things do you think are sometimes not normal? That's deep.
Yeah, it's too deep for me.
Yeah, we'll have to save that for Monday.
Yeah.
All right. Jerk Guy, when will college sports stabilize?
I think there will be something that looks a little more stable in the next 5 years. Whether it works or not, I don't know.
Jerk Guy, how many times have you made your wife mow the lawn this year?
Not a single time. I've only mowed it twice, but yeah, no. That's
By the way, when you did that though, when you took that picture, you posted on Twitter with your feet up. I think that's before we did a show together.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, dude, Graham. Now that I know you, it's so wild to like the same thing. Like you would never do that now.
She was actually, when that happened the first time, she was intrigued what it was like to mow the lawn. She thought she wanted that to be her thing, and it lasted like one time. She's like, I don't like this.
Wait, she said it was going to be her thing?
Well, it was just something she thought she'd enjoy. Gets her outside, you mow the lawn, you get a podcast, and she thought
had
it'd be
never
fun.
mowed the lawn before she married you?
Never our
like
lawn.
At her house?
I don't know that. I don't know that, actually.
Damn.
I did not ask that.
What a life. Finally, from the Jerk Guy, does Izzo fill his last scholarship slot?
All the evidence says no, and we will see. And maybe we'll have something more in that realm in the next week or so for you, so I can give you a little more of an answer there and what's more likely to happen. We appreciate all of you, all of your Michigan State Basketball Center questions, all the transfer portal stuff, because seriously, and it may seem like they're asked a lot, but that tells me where your head is. And you're very much appreciated for engaging with us all the time. We appreciate Pure Options. And if you're still listening, you're well aware of Pure Options, and you're probably, 25 mgs in minimum at this point. We appreciate Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the games we're betting. Better yet, bet other games. Enjoy the Kentucky Derby this weekend. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com or either one of their locations, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Great place for Mother's Day brunch. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Room.